today we have a whopping 6 different text effects for you, all created using nothing but clever layer styles and a handful of patterns and textures. All fonts featured here today can be found down in the description, all from Envato Elements. Get unlimited downloads of fonts to go with each one of these text effects here today, millions of creative digital assets with simple commercial licensing, and you can cancel anytime. I'm Abby Esparza with Envato Tuts Plus, and we have so much to do, so let's get started. Starting with how to create a glass Photoshop text effect. First, type out your phrase using this font found on Envato Elements. And change the size to 350 points. Change the layer fill value to 0 and duplicate it. Click the original text layer to apply the following layer styles. First, a bevel and emboss with the following settings. A depth of 200, a size of 15. We're going to go ahead and uncheck the Use Global Light box. An angle of 40, an altitude of 50, a gloss contour of Valley Low. Go ahead and check the anti-alias box if it's not already checked. A highlight mode set to linear light with an opacity of 100. And a shadow mode set to screen, the color being 888, and the opacity being 70%. Next, add a stroke with a size set to 1, an opacity of 50%, a fill type set to gradient, the style being reflected, and then use the Steel S88 gradient fill. All the gradient, pattern, and texture links are down in the description. Now an inner shadow. With the blend mode set to color dodge, the color set to white, an opacity of 40%, we're going to again uncheck the Use Global Light box, setting the angle to -108, the distance to 5, and the size to 5 as well. Next up, an inner glow, with a blend mode set to linear burn, an opacity of 50%, a color set to 7B, 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 a gray color, and a size of 10. Next, add a gradient overlay, with a blend mode set to multiply, an opacity of 50%, the style set to reflected, and then we're going to use the aluminum 5 gradient fill. Again, the links to these gradient fills are in the description. Once done there, we're going to add a drop shadow with an opacity of 50%, a distance of 5, and a size of 10. This will style our first layer, but we still have one more to go. So let's double click the copy text layer to apply the following layer styles. First, add a bevel and emboss with a size set to 25. Uncheck Use Global Light box, if it ever is checked. Set the angle to 117, the altitude to 69, the gloss contour to cone inverted. Make sure anti-alias is checked. Set the highlight mode to linear light with an opacity of 100. And bring down the shadow to 0%. Next, add a stroke. Setting the size to 1, the position to inside, the blend mode set to overlay, an opacity of 50%, the fill type is set to gradient, style reflected, and then we're going to use the Steel S88 gradient fill. Now an inner shadow. With a blend mode set to overlay, the color set to white, an opacity of 50%, no global light, an angle set to 2:4, a distance of 5, and a size of 5 as well. And finally, add an inner glow with a blend mode of multiply, an opacity of 50%, a color of 9F, 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 a lighter gray color, and then a size of 5. This will create our final shiny glass effect. Next, how to create a metal text effect. Create your base text using this font over on Envato Elements. Change the color to a dark gray. Double-click the text layer to apply the following layer styles. First, a bevel and emboss. With the technique set to chisel hard, a depth of 250, a size of 5, a gloss contour set to ring, make sure anti-alias is checked, and then a highlight mode set to vivid light and an opacity of 70%. Now add a contour. With the contour set to cone inverted, and again, you're going to want to double check to make sure anti-alias is checked. Next, let's add a texture. Set the pattern to side slanting mesh from the Metal Mesh Patterns pack, linked down below. Set the scale to 25 and the depth to 10%. Next up, a stroke. Set to a size of 2. A fill type set to gradient, the style being reflected. And then we're going to use the Riddle of Steel gradient fill. Let's add an inner shadow now, with a blend mode set to color dodge, a color set to B67564, which is a terracotta color, I suppose, an opacity of 35%, a distance of 25, and a size of 10. Up next, we have an inner glow, with a blend mode set to hard light, an opacity of 67%, the color set to C2CCD4, a very light powdered blue color, a technique set to precise, with the source set to center, a size of 51, and the contour set to rolling slope descending. Let's add a satin layer effect next, with a blend mode set to overlay, a color of D6D6D6, a very light gray color, an opacity of 58%, an angle of 60, a distance of 42, a size of 24, a contour set to linear, and we're going to want to make sure the anti-alias box is checked, as well as the invert box. Now add a gradient overlay, checking the dither box, setting the blend mode to overlay, and using the Stovepipe 20 gradient fill. Link down in the description. And then a pattern overlay, with a blend mode of overlay, a pattern set to the 9th texture from the Metal Seamless Textures pack, linked below, and then a scale of 50. Moving on to an outer glow, with a blend mode set to linear light, an opacity of 100%, a color set to 67ADE8, a light blue color, and a size of just 5. And finally, add a drop shadow, setting the opacity to 50%, the distance to 15, the spread to 25, and a size of 15. And there we have an ultra-realistic metal text effect, all using layer styles. Now let's create a neon text effect. Type out your phrase using this font, and change the color to a bright neon pink, the size to around 250, and the tracking value to around 10. Change the text fill value to 0. You can always increase the fill value after applying the upcoming layer styles to get an even brighter neon effect. So let's double click the text layer to start adding our layer styles. First, add a bevel and emboss, setting the depth to 250, the size to 5, soften set to 2, uncheck the use global light box, an angle set to 60, an altitude of 0, and gloss contour set to ring double. Make sure the anti-alias box is checked. Set the highlight mode to color dodge, setting the color to DCDCDC, a very light gray, with an opacity of 50% or so, and then the shadow mode set to vivid light. Color E5, 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 setting that opacity to 10%. Next, add a contour. Contour set to cone inverted, with anti-alias checked. Next, add an inner shadow, with a blend mode set to linear light, a color set to EBD5F3, a very light pink, an opacity of 100%. Uncheck the use global light box if checked, setting the angle to 90, the distance to 0, and the size to 5. Next up, add an inner glow, with a blend mode set to linear dodge, an opacity of 100, a color set to DDBFFF, a light purpley color, set the source to center, and the size to 5. Add a satin layer style next, with a blend mode set to vivid light, a color of E6A2EE, another bright neon pink color, an opacity of 50%, an angle of 90, a distance of 10, a size of 35, the contour set to linear, and then we're going to check both the anti-alias and invert box. Now an outer glow, with a blend mode set to linear dodge, an opacity of 100, a color of C689FF, a size of 15, with a range set to 85%. Next, a drop shadow, setting the blend mode to screen, the color to F227FF, a deep neon pink color, bringing the opacity down to 85%, the angle to 90, the distance to 0, and the size to 50. We're going to add another drop shadow, setting that blend mode to screen, the color to F227FF, the opacity is 100%, with an angle of 90, a distance of 0, and a size of 60. And we're going to finish up with a third drop shadow. Setting the blend mode to multiply, the color to black, the opacity to 50%, a distance of 30, and a size of 7. This will create a bright neon pink text effect, shadow and all. Next up, how to create a chrome text effect. Before getting to the text, you are going to want to open an image similar to what you see here, and then go to Image, Image Size, setting the width value to 1000 pixels. Next, go to Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur, and change the radius value to 1.5 or so. Now let's go to Filter, Distort Wave, setting these settings to 5 number of generators, a wavelength set to a minimum of 228 and a max of 241, an amplitude minimum of 5, max of 3.5, and then for scale, set both the horizontal and vertical to 100%. And finally, go to Edit, Define Pattern. Change the name to Reflection and click OK. Now you can open up a new canvas and type your phrase using this font. Duplicate the text layer and change the copy's fill value to 0. Double-click the original text layer to apply the following layer styles. First, a bevel and emboss, setting the size to 1, a gloss contour set to rolling slope descending, anti-alias should always be checked. Let's set the highlight mode to linear light, the color being D6, 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 a very light gray, an opacity of 75%. And then setting the shadow mode to a color of 4C, 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 a medium dark gray tone, and then opacity of 75%. Second, a contour, setting the contour to log. Third, an inner shadow, setting the blend mode to color dodge, the color to 4D, 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 an opacity of 35%, a distance of 3, and a size of 10. Fourth, an inner glow, setting the blend mode to soft light, an opacity of 35%, the color should be flat white, and a size of 7. Fifth, a gradient overlay, checking the dither box, setting the blend mode to soft light, and then we're going to use the Faucet 140 gradient fill. Link down in the description. Sixth, add a pattern overlay, setting the pattern to the chrome reflection pattern we just made. You can click and drag to move the pattern around, placing it to where it looks best. Once happy with the positioning of your reflection, go ahead and add a drop shadow, setting the opacity to 75%, a distance of 15, a spread of 20, and a size of 25. This will style our text face thus far. However, if you want to add a bevel around the chrome text, go ahead and double-click the copy text layer and apply the following layer styles. First, a bevel and emboss, setting the style to stroke emboss, a size of 15, an angle of 119, an altitude of 21, a gloss contour set to cone inverted, and we're going to go ahead and check that anti-alias box. Next up, add a contour layer style, setting the contour to ring, now a stroke, setting the size to 3, the fill type gradient, style reflected, and then we can use the Faucet 30 gradient fill. Next, add an inner shadow, setting the opacity to 15%, the distance to 2, and setting the size to 7. Add an inner glow next, setting the blend mode to soft light, the opacity to 25%, a color of white, and a size of 5. Next, add a satin layer style, setting the blend mode to soft light, the color to 939393, an opacity of 20%, an angle of -20, a distance of 190, a size of 15, a contour set to rolling slope descending, with both invert and anti-aliased checked. And then we are going to finish up with a gradient overlay, setting the blend mode to soft light, the opacity to 100, and using the stainless steel 25 jar gradient fill, linked down in the description. This will finish up our stroke and our chrome text effect. Next, how to create a retro text effect. Type your phrase using this retro font, setting the color to a neon red color. Duplicate the text layer. Double-click the original text layer and apply a drop shadow. Set to a blend mode of normal, an opacity of 100%, a distance of 10, a spread of 100, and a size of 5. Now let's right-click the styled layer and choose Convert to Smart Object. We're going to click the Smart Object and apply the following layer styles. Starting with a bevel and emboss, set to Technique Chisel Hard, a size of 18, an angle of 149, an altitude of 58, and anti-aliased checked. Next, add a contour, set to Contour Log, and a range of 100% with anti-alias checked. Add an inner shadow next, set to a blend mode of linear burn, a color of 383838, an opacity of 15%. We're going to make sure the Use Global Light box is unchecked. Then setting the angle to -77, a distance of 10, and a size of 1. Moving on, we're going to add an inner glow, setting the blend mode to soft light, the opacity set to 100, the color set to white, a technique set to precise, a source set to center, and a size set to 16. Next, we're going to add a color overlay, setting the color to D8, D8, D8. Right after, add a drop shadow, setting the blend mode to linear burn, the color to 010101, an opacity of 15%, a distance of 5, and a size of 3. Next, add a drop shadow, setting the color to 010101 once again, setting the opacity to 25%, the distance to 15, and the size to 1. And then we are going to add one final drop shadow, setting the color to 010101, an opacity of 10%, a distance of 25, and a size of 20. This will style the 3D part of our layer effect. We still have one more part to add, however, so let's double-click the copied text layer and apply the following layer styles. Add a stroke with a size of 3, setting the color to white. Next, an inner shadow with a blend mode set to linear burn, a color of 383838, an opacity of 50%, a distance of 2, a choke set to 50, and a size set to 1. And finally, add a pattern overlay, setting the blend mode to divide, setting the pattern to pattern 11 from the 20 repeatable pixel patterns pack. This will complete the final retro text effect. Finally, how to create a glitter text effect. Type your phrase using this script font, changing the color to a light medium gray and a size of 300. Double-click the text layer to apply the following layer styles. First, a bevel and emboss, with a technique set to chisel hard, a size of 5, a gloss contour set to ring double, anti-alias should always be checked, set the highlight mode to vivid light with an opacity of 100%. Next, add a texture. For the pattern, we'll be using glitter pink from the Wasted Shame free glitter patterns pack linked down in the description. Next, add a pattern overlay with the pattern set to pink glitter from the 8 free glitter effect pattern and styles for Photoshop pack linked down in the description, setting that scale to 50%. Now we are going to add a drop shadow, setting the blend mode to vivid light, the color to white, an opacity of 100%, a distance of 2, a size of 2, and a noise of just 5. Finish everything off with one more drop shadow, setting that opacity to 20%, an angle of -45, a distance of 3, a size of 8, and a noise of 5. That finishes up the glitter text effect. And there you have it, 6 different Photoshop text effects using almost exclusively layer styles. But if that wasn't enough and you want to learn even more, why not check out some of the other excellent videos that Envato Tuts Plus has to offer. If you like this video, consider giving us a like or even subscribing if you haven't already. And don't forget to hit the little bell icon to be notified of all new videos, including tips, tricks, and tutorials. I'm Abby Esparza with Envato Tuts Plus. Happy designing!